is a national emergency. But President Trump still doesn't have any real plan for how to open our schools safely. No real plan for how to help parents feel secure for their children. He's offering nothing but failure and delusions. From the start to finish, the American families and our children are paying the price for his failures. Failure to take this virus seriously early on in January and February, and it's spread around the globe. Failure to take steps we needed back in March and April to get this pandemic under control, to institute widespread testing and tracing, to control the spread. Failure to provide clear national science-based guidelines to state and local authorities. And failure to model even basic responsibility like socially distancing and wearing a mask. And failure to make sure educators and administrators have the equipment, the resources, and the training they need to open safely under the circumstances we find now. Donald Trump and Betsy Secretary DeVos haven't stepped up. And we're all seeing the results. Millions of students are now starting the new school year in the same way they finished the last one, at home. At home. Parents are doing their best, but more and more Mr. President, where are you? Where are you? Why aren't you working on this? We need emergency support funding for our schools, and we need it now. Mr. President, that's your job. That's your job. That's what you should be focused on now. Getting our kids back to school safely, keeping schools safely able to remain open once they open. Not whipping up fear and division, not inciting violence in our streets. Get off Twitter and start talking to the congressional leaders in both parties. Invite them to the Oval Office. The Oval Office. And stop your boast about never being seen at what you can do anything. You always talk about your ability to negotiate. Negotiate a deal. A deal for somebody other than yourself. Now I'm happy to this administration does is speculate on what it means. What I can say is that nothing this administration does is normal. And so I'm not being facetious when I say that. So who in God's name knows what it's all about? I just don't know. I don't know, and I'm not going to speculate. I'll let the experts do that. And the only time that I have been on notice is when the president's out of the country and I'm in the country. Not that I should wait for something to immediately be aware of anything, but that's something that might be called for. It wasn't called for.
Thank you.
You said you'll participate. Is there anything that could dissuade you from participating, and how have you begun to prepare?
Well, I've begun to prepare by going over what the president has said, the multiple lies he's told. What I'd love to have is a crawler at the bottom of the screen, a fact checker, when we speak. If we really wanted to do something, I think that would make a great, great debate if everything both of us said was instantly fact-checked by an agreed-to group of people out there that we move forward. But that probably wouldn't get very far in the debate. No, I'm looking forward to debating the president, and I'm going to lay out as clearly as I can what I think we have to do to bring this country back and build it back better. And I'm looking forward to the debate. First of all, I wouldn't incite violence. I'd condemn it when it occurred. I would move to, look, the vast majority of police officers are good, decent, honorable women and men. They pin on that shield every morning, and they have a right to go home that night safely. The vast majority. But just those who are not good cops, all the police I've dealt with my whole life, and I've gotten overwhelming support from law enforcement through my whole career. They're the ones that want to get rid of the bad cops even more than anybody else does because it reflects on them, number one. Number two, I would make sure everybody understood, if I were president, that any violence, any violence. Protesting is a right, and free speech is a right. But to engage in violence, burning, looting, and the rest in the name of protesting is wrong. And the persons should be held accountable for their actions. And so what I'd be doing is I'd be bringing people together in the White House right now. I'd be having that police commission set up. I'd have law enforcement at the table. I'd have the community at the table. I'd have people and saying, how do we get through this? What do we do to deal with this? Because I believe the vast majority of the community at writ large, as well as law enforcement, want to straighten things out, not inflame things. But this president keeps throwing gasoline in the fire every place he goes. I noticed, I didn't watch much of it, but I watched the reports from